Matt, it is so good to see you. We have a very important topic today, how to reduce taxes in your portfolio. A lot of people watching have probably heard of asset allocation before, but perhaps just as important is asset location, where you keep your assets. In a tax advantaged account or a traditional brokerage can significantly lower the tax bite in your portfolio. So let's start high level. Can you please talk through the tax benefits of a traditional and a Roth IRA and how each has its own unique tax advantage?
Yes. So let's just talk about a traditional 401k. If I have $10,000 that I defer every year from my payroll, instead of going into my bank account, it goes into the investment account. That's $10,000 that I never pay tax on. Now, I will pay tax on that later when I take it out. Now, inverse of that is the Roth IRA. With the Roth IRA, if I take that $10,000 and I pay tax, let's say I pay 30% of my taxes. So now that $10,000 is $7,000 that goes into that Roth money, the seed and the harvest will never be taxed again. So a good question to ask yourself is, do you want to pay tax on the seed like a Roth, or do you want to pay tax on the harvest like a traditional IRA? And generally speaking, the longer your time horizon, by that I mean money in the Roth, the longer it's in there, the better and the more sense that it makes to
Right.
consider
Yeah,
that.
that tax-free growth is incredibly powerful. You're right. And we can all probably safely assume that taxes will be going up in the future, considering the nation's debt, among other reasons. So let's move on to our next strategy, though, Matt, which is, of course, tax loss harvesting. This is kind of advanced planning. So can you explain what this is for us, please?
Yeah, so now we're not talking about an IRA or a Roth. We're talking about what we would call a joint account, a brokerage account, joint account if you and your wife are on it, or an individual account if it's just me. Think of it like this. You log in, I log into my account and I see that, oh, this stock is down and it's December 30th. I need some write-offs. I'm going to sell the stock that's down and take a loss.
Hmm.
I can write off a loss of up to $3,000 per year. And if I sell it at a loss of 6,000, that's okay too, because I can carry forward the loss. I can only write off 3,000 a year, but any excess I can carry forward indefinitely until it's used up. So it's a
Hmm.
great way to help minimize your gains as well. Because let's say I sold some stock because I want to put it in my bank account and put it in my money. Well, not paying a tax on that, but I can also help write that off by selling some losers as well.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's drill down into asset location. Dividends and other cash distributions are typically taxable in the year you receive them. To minimize your tax burden on dividends, consider where you hold your investments. What do we need to know?
Like you said, dividends are going to be taxed as my regular earned income for that year, just like the bank account, right? You have a bank account, I use BCU or Chase, whatever. They give you that dividend, they give you that 1099 at the end of the year that says, look at all this money we paid you in interest. You made $5. Right. Thank you for giving us all your money. And you say, wow, now I have to pay tax on that $5 or whatever it was. So short term tax is your income tax rate, anything you held less than 12 months. Long term is anything you held more than a year. But the idea is, if you're not living on the dividends, in other words, some people like to take the dividends and spend them. That's different. But if you're not living on the dividends, consider using dividend funds in your qualified accounts just to help minimize your taxes throughout the year.
Mhm. And then next, take advantage of long-term capital gains tax rates. With strategic and very proactive planning, there is a possibility for a 0% tax rate. This is incredible.
I have to tell you, Aaron, this type of account is one of my favorite accounts. And I
Yeah.
run into so many people that don't have it. And I'm like, if you do it right, it's a win. You could do it because look at this. If my AGI, and I'm married filing jointly, is under 96,700, my long-term capital gains rate is zero.
Yeah.
You wonder how a lot of rich people and whatever else pay so low in taxes. It's because they figured some things out.
Mhm.
And I think this is one of them. Because if most of my income is tax-free money coming out of a Roth, that doesn't count towards my AGI. So I could take out 50 grand and that doesn't show on my taxes
Right.
as income. And then on top of that, so I'm under 96,000. It's just another way to win. And for a lot of people, you have to keep in mind that what you take out can affect your AGI as well. But for a lot of people, especially in Washington, if you're making 96 to, the next slide there, it's a 15% tax rate. 15%, yeah, 96 to 600. 15% is still a whole lot better than my regular tax rate.
Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a great account. It's a secondary account. I call it the tomorrow account. The today account is your bank. This is the tomorrow account where if I need it, we can wire it to you in 3 days. And again, if we do it right, long-term capital gains at 0 or maybe 15, depending on where you're at.
Right. And as I'm hearing you talk this through, though, it becomes apparent. This is why you and I talk so much about Roth conversions, trying to get more money into that tax-free bucket. Because I got to say, what is it, Matt? I feel like the tax code is like 100,000 pages, and the
It's
rich
crazy.
use every single page to their advantage, like you're
That
saying.
is it.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, we
Yeah.
just need to behave. Yeah, like them. And I know that you know this inside and out. So if somebody would like to sit down with you, talk more about strategic tax planning, how to reduce their taxes over the course of their lifetime, what's the best way to reach you?
Give us a call, 425-256-3105. Aaron, I'm going to give you one more story before we go.
Please do.
I had a client call me, this is years ago, and she was all mad at her other financial advisor. And he works at a big firm that everyone would know. Of course, I won't say the name. She had inherited money years ago from her father, and it was like, I don't remember the exact dollar. Let's say it was 250. But over the course of her lifetime, 10 more years, it grew to like 500 grand.
Yeah.
And well, she was past 65, and her broker, I don't know the whole story, but probably called her up and said, hey, I want to make a slight change to your account. Let's adjust some funds, and it'll be better for you. Sold most of her positions. And that meant that created a long-term capital gain, which increased her AGI way up to a high enough level where she got what's called an IRMA penalty on her Part B Medicare and her Part D. That was a $6,000 per year penalty for her because of that. Obviously, she wasn't happy. So when we sell, obviously we look at the cost basis. A lot of times you transfer in kind, and we look at the losers first from the previous advisor and sell those, and then maybe we sell some of the others next year. Mm-hmm. So it's important to work with someone that understands not just where you're at financially as far as your investments, but also your Medicare, because that is also financial, and that could cost you a lot of money.
Right. You mentioned that when she asked him what had happened, he said, oh, we don't do taxes.
That's right. That's right. We don't do taxes. Yes. And just so we're clear, I don't personally do taxes either, right? I'm not a CPA, but we do look at how you're affected, we do look at things like that. We follow great tax advisors like Ed Slott, and it's something that we keep an eye on because we're here to help you win.
Absolutely.
Every level of your financial life.
Yes. I mean, these are all parts of a puzzle. And if you're only focusing on one piece, you're missing the big picture. I've heard a saying before, Matt, which is if your advisor is just talking about investments, it's time for a new advisor, because they're not thinking about how does this affect Medicare? How does this affect my Social Security taxes? You bring up a really good point. I feel like I could talk to you forever, but this was incredibly helpful. Matt, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Aaron.